Hello and welcome to Wild Earth Ways. I'm Kat, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 unusual ways to connect with your tarot deck. Now, I enjoy reading tarot, I enjoy exploring my decks, but I don't always want to do serious readings every day, especially because I don't read for other people, only for myself. So I'm always looking for different ways to use my decks and to get to know them and connect with them beyond spreads, beyond tarot readings, to find other ways to play with the decks. So this is why I was interested to come across this book. So this is the Tarot Playbook by Linda Cowles, 78 Novel Ways to Connect with Your Cards. This was published a little while ago. I think the date it was published was 2012. So it's been around a while, and you can kind of tell by the art style, it looks a little bit perhaps different from the current aesthetic, but it's actually a really great book. So don't let the kind of visuals put you off if they would. It's a really interesting and creative book. I came across this book on a video on YouTube. It was on the channel A Rosebud Cauldron. The creator there is currently not making videos, I think, but I used to really enjoy their channel. I especially liked that she used to read almost exclusively with one deck. She used the Herb Crafters tarot deck, and I used to really enjoy seeing her practice, and she shared a video showing an activity from this book that really sparked my curiosity. Now, the book is, as it describes, it's 78 different activities to do with a tarot deck, and each of the activities is connected with one of the cards of the deck. So you could choose to draw a card and let your deck guide you to the activity. This is what a Rosebud Cauldron did, and you can see that there's an activity for every card. They aren't necessarily connected that closely with the traditional meanings of the cards. I haven't found them to be, at any rate. So it's not that if you do the Hierophant activity, you're really getting a particular insight into the Hierophant card. As you'll see shortly, the connection is pretty loose, but it's a way that the book is structured, and you can use it like that. Now, I have actually not been using it like this. I have been going through it activity by activity and trying it out with my deck. And the deck I chose to explore in this way is the Universal Weight. So this is a classic RWS deck, one I'm already particularly bonded with and connected to. But I wanted to use it in a more playful manner. So something about the activities in this book is that they're fun, they're light-hearted, they're meant to be play. So this is not work. It's not shadow work, inner child work, all those kind of tarot activities that have perhaps become more popular in recent years. It's a little bit more light-hearted and playful for that, which is perfect for what I wanted to do with this deck. Because it's the classic RWS deck, I can have a tendency to view this deck rather seriously. You know, it has a lot of symbolism, a lot of connections that you can make for different meanings, different cards. And so I have a tendency to see the deck rather seriously, which can actually put me off from choosing to use it in readings. And so I thought I would try out using this deck with the playbook, and it would help me connect with it in a more light-hearted and upbeat manner. And it has been really effective for that. So what I'm going to do in this video now is share with you 5 activities which you could try out to connect with your deck, whichever deck it is that you wish to be connecting with at this time. So let's start with the activity for the High Priestess card. This activity is a kind of variation on that getting to know your deck activity, where you go through and choose cards you love, cards you dislike, and cards you're neutral about. In this activity, you're going to choose your favorite and your least favorite card in a number of different categories. So I think it's playing on the kind of idea of duality in the High Priestess card, I suppose, by having your favorite and your least favorite. The categories that she suggests are Major Arcana card, Minor Arcana suit, Ace, Numbered Wands card, Cups, Swords, Pentacles, and so on, Numbered Minor Arcana card overall, Wands, Court card, Cups, Swords, Pentacles, and so on. Favorite Page, Knight, Queen, King, Court card overall, and card in the whole deck. So your favorite and your least favorite in each of those categories. So I went through and did this with the universal weight, and in some of the categories it was easy, and in some of them it was much more difficult, like very difficult, for example, to choose my favorite queen, for example, or my least favorite queen for that matter. So it helped me to look at the cards in a different way, you know, low stakes, not too serious, but just a way of meeting all of the different cards in a different context. I think that it may have been even more effective to do this with a deck I was less familiar with. So if it had been a deck I was just trying to get to know and connect to, this might have worked even better. So that was the High Priestess activity. Let's have a look now at the Empress activity. This one, the writer suggests that we write a love letter to your deck, telling it how you feel and sharing with it your hopes and dreams to create a bond of trust. She says, tell your deck how it first caught your eye, how it feels like to handle it, and what you find most beautiful or intriguing about it. Mention what you find most challenging about it, and share with it your dreams for what you'll be able to do together. Make a promise for the part you'll play. So there are a few other steps, and I have to say I didn't do it exactly as described. I didn't exactly write a letter. I just wrote a text about what I enjoy about this deck, what about it caught my eye, and what I find challenging, what I hope to be able to do with the deck, and so on. So I wrote this as a simple text in my journal. In some of the activities, there's more of a kind of drama element, like here, there's a kind of element of ritual or drama. I tended to skip those activities or those parts just because that doesn't so much appeal for me. I'm more of a kind of journaling person than an acting person. So I tended to just edit down the activities as it suited me best. But certainly writing out in words what it is about this deck that appeals to me, what I find interesting, challenging, was really useful and helped to kind of verbalize some subconscious thoughts. Now, I'm not going to go through every activity in the book. For example, the magician activity was a kind of quiz, quite interesting. And the Emperor activity here, it's a spread about your relationship with the deck. Also, I tried it out and enjoyed it. But let's take a look at the activity for the Hierophant card, which she gives the title, Voices in Your Head. Now, this was really interesting. These are the steps that she suggests. Place your deck face down on the table in front of you. You're going to turn over each card one by one and jot down what the people in the card are thinking or saying. Remember to jot down the name of the card as well. Don't give yourself time to think about it. This will only let your own thoughts get in the way. The key to this exercise is speed. If you turn over a card which doesn't have any people, humans or animals on it, just go straight to the next card. And when you finish the whole deck, review what you've written. Did any of the cards surprise you? So I actually did this for this deck, like she suggested. I didn't include the cards without people, so the Three of Swords and the Eight of Wands, but I did include the aces, for example, even though they're just hands. And I simply went card by card and wrote down a sentence or two of what I felt the person in the card was saying. And obviously where there was more than one person in the card, I just chose someone and expressed what I felt like they were saying in this card. And this was pretty fun. It kind of gave me a sense of the overall voices of the deck, its messages, the kind of mood and the way of interaction between the people in the deck. So it was just a very intuitive and playful, light-hearted way of connecting with each card in turn. I did write this down, so I wrote them down in my kind of rough notebook. She says at the beginning of this book not to take the tasks too seriously. You don't need to keep a special journal or anything like that, and she actually advises against doing that because she wants you to approach it as playful and fun and not as hard work. But this was a useful activity for kind of getting a sense of the voices of the cards in the deck. And I do think it would also be especially good with a deck that I was less familiar with than this one. So if it was a new deck that I was trying to get to know and get the feel of, that would be a really useful activity. So moving quickly through the next one, the Lovers is a sequence of questions to ask your deck, kind of a bit like a deck interview. The Chariot one was quite fun. This was, she calls it Taroga, in which you draw 9 cards and make a pose, like a yoga pose, that shows something about the image that in the card, and just to hold that for 10 seconds. I did actually try that out because I like both tarot and yoga. It was kind of fun for me. I'm not sure if I really learned anything from it though. Strength was also quite an interesting activity. She suggests dividing your deck into cards to represent 2 different binaries. So for example, fast and slow, or open and closed. So you just go quickly through the deck and decide, is the card more open or more closed? And I found that quite interesting actually. Like when you stop and look at a card, do you think it's slow? Do you think it's fast or open or closed? It gives you a different way of looking at each card and thinking what its meaning is to you. But the next activity that I want to look at in detail is the one for the Wheel of Fortune, which is a storytelling activity. So she suggests these steps. It's a very loose, light-hearted storytelling activity with the deck. Shuffle your deck thoroughly. Place the deck face down and turn over the top card. Begin your tale by using the image on that card to complete this sentence. Once upon a time, there was an injured soldier, a talking cup. Turn over the next card and lay it overlapping the first. Continue story. Who, more than anything in the world, wanted something, someone, to join the circus? But alas, turn over another card to find out what terrible obstacle is preventing your hero or heroine from getting what they so desire. Then, one day, now allow the story to take over. Keep drawing cards one at a time, each one carrying the story a little bit further. Keep going until you run out of ideas or cards, or until you reach a happily ever after. So I did do this with my tarot deck, so I quite enjoy telling stories anyway with my decks. So this is kind of familiar for me, but I did enjoy the kind of more freewheeling style of this, the kind of relaxed, not needing to write anything, just see where the story takes us. Now she does say, don't feel tied to the fairy tale genre. Try setting your stories in the present day, in prehistoric times, in space, or wherever and whenever captures your imagination. So you could tell other kinds of stories as well, not just fairy tale type stories. I did tell a fairy tale type story. So it just so happens at this time that at the time I did this activity, I was in the middle of reading this book, Beauty and the Beast, Classic Tales about Animal Brides and Grooms from Around the World, edited by Maria Tata. So I was reading this collection of fairy tales about people who marry someone who is enchanted to appear as an animal, like in the classic Beauty and Beast tale, or an animal who is disguised as a human, so shapeshifter stories. These are kind of fairy tales and stories that really interest me. And so I remember that this was very much on my mind when I told the story of my tarot deck for this Wheel of Fortune activity. I think I'll talk a bit more about this book when I eventually do my autumn wrap-up. It'll probably be at the end of November rather than at the end of October. I'll do a kind of October-November wrap-up, and I'll include this book in that. So the next one, the one for Justice, was also quite fun. I'll just explain it very briefly. She suggests shuffling your deck, and then you are like bringing them into a party. So you pull groups of 3 or 4 cards together, and it's as though they're arriving at the party together. So you could have the Hermit arriving with the 2 of Cups and the Page of Wands, for example. And you would think about like what kind of entrance they make, how they feel about coming to the party, whether they get on with one another, and so on. So it was just a really fun way of approaching a tarot draw very differently than normal, and kind of telling a different kind of fun story. So I did enjoy this one for justice. And the next one that I want to talk about in some detail is the activity for temperance. So this is the 5th way to connect with your deck. This one I found very thought-provoking. She suggests that you go through your deck and you pick out all the major arcana cards and then lay down the major arcana cards in numbered order. Then you shuffle the rest of your deck and you go through the deck card by card, starting with the card at the top of the deck, decide which major arcana it is most like and place it next to that card. If, for example, you decide your 4 of Pentacles card most resembles the Sun, put it down next to the Sun card. And she explains, it doesn't matter what reason you have for putting 2 cards together. It might be that they have a similar mood or artistic style, or that people in the cards share the same facial expression or fashion sense, or it may be something else. As long as the match makes sense to you, it's all good. And she goes on, if you get stuck on a card and it doesn't seem to fit with any of the major arcana cards, put it at the bottom of the deck and come back to it later. After you've assigned all of the cards, look at each major arcana card and the cards you've matched with it. What makes each clique unique? So I think this is a really interesting suggestion because it asks you to look at your cards differently than normal. Which minor arcana cards would you associate with which major arcana cards? And approaching this in a free, intuitive manner, not according to any rules about elements or astrology, but just how you respond to the card when you see it. So I'll show you a few of my choices, as this was the last activity I did from the book at this time. So for the Fool, I chose the Page of Swords and the Page of Cups. I felt that they both had that same energy of beginnings, youthfulness, a little bit careless, and so those were my choices for the Fool. For the Magician, I had the Page of Pentacles and the 2 of Pentacles. They're both beginning cards, and also the Magician is a beginning card in the major arcana, and I felt like they had the same kind of playful study element that we can see in the Magician. For the High Priestess, I only had the Queen of Cups. So I connected them, I think, because of the water and also because of their sort of poetic sensibility that we have in both of those cards. For the Empress, I have the 3 of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, and the 9 of Pentacles. So all of these cards I felt connect well with Empress energy. Actually, the Queen of Pentacles I think is quite similar in many respects to the Empress, and this kind of pentacles-y energy connects with the Empress. Also this 3 of Cups card, I kind of feel like the Empress would be right at home in this party, and it's all lots of kind of strong feminine energy in these cards. The Emperor, I don't have very interesting choices, I'm afraid, for the Emperor. I just chose the 4 King cards. I think all of them can illustrate aspects of the Emperor. Now, for the Hierophant, I chose the 6 of Pentacles, the 4 of Pentacles, the 3 of Pentacles, and the 3 of Cups. Sorry, the 9 of Cups. So these 2 cards, the 4 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups, kind of remind me of the seated figures kind of reminded me of the Hierophant, and the way in which he's kind of holding the wealth, the riches, the resources, and he may or may not share it, just as he's holding the keys, essentially. Meanwhile, the 6 of Pentacles, this kind of hierarchy that we can see between these figures, reminded me of these 3 in this card. And similarly, in this card, we have our 3 figures inside a church who are kind of like together, putting together the new tradition. Now, the Lovers card, I'm afraid I'm covering it up just in case of YouTube censorship. So I chose the 4 of Wands, the 2 of Cups, the Ace of Cups, and the Knight of Cups. I felt that all of these cards are clearly associated with the Lovers card, either by emotion, the sense of union, and in general, I tend to think of the Knight of Cups as being kind of a romantic card. I'll do one last one. So for the Chariot, I chose the 6 of Wands, the Knight of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, sorry, the Three of Wands, the Eight of Wands, the Ace of Wands, and the Two of Wands. So lots and lots of wandsy energy for the Chariot. I realize that the Chariot kind of may be associated, in fact, with water rather than fire, but I feel that kind of purposeful, driven, creative energy that we have in the Wands cards really comes through in the concept of the Chariot card as well. So I paired up all of these wands with my Chariot card. And that was quite interesting for me because I could see that some of the major arcana, I could make lots of associations through the deck, and some of them really not so much. So my High Priestess had just the one card associated with it. And if you did this activity with different decks, I'm sure you would have different results, and it could give you a sense of the character of the deck overall. Is it more Chariot-y, which I think it's fair to say, at least for me, the RWS is quite a sort of striving, purposeful, sort of active sort of a deck? Or is it perhaps more watery and poetic, and then you might find there are more cards connecting with the High Priestess? So I think that this activity is a really effective way of getting to know a deck, its overall mood, its overall leanings. And I'm really interested to try out this activity with other decks as well. Now, this was something which I did find as I was doing these activities, is just that I know this deck so well already that perhaps it would be more interesting and more like educational to do it with a deck that would be less familiar to me. So I'm definitely going to be trying them out with newer decks in my collection. So from what I've done so far with this book, I do recommend it to you if you're looking for a book that can give you ideas and inspiration for using a deck in different ways, in creative, playful, fun ways. It doesn't spend any time trying to explain the meanings of the cards, and for me that's great because that's not what I'm looking for at this point in time. I did buy this secondhand, so I can't say I know about its general availability, but I get the feeling that it is pretty available still and can be found either secondhand or perhaps new from certain websites. So it's going to be a shorter video from me here today. I very much hope that you've enjoyed these practices. Maybe you found something that you would like to try out with your deck. If you have this book and you've used it, please do let me know what are your favorite activities from it. I'd love to kind of dive into different activities, and I am going to be continuing to use this book with this deck and with other decks, and if I come across any real gems, I will also share them with you here in the future. So thanks so much for spending your time here with me today. I wish you well wherever you are, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.